Well, I got to tell you, I almost feel bad for John Boehner at this point. I mean, we talked about what a bad day he had yesterday, but today was so bad it was enough to bring tears to your eyes. Because today, John Boehner failed to do a very basic thing. If there's one thing you should definitely be able to do as Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, it is the thing John Boehner failed to do today, which is pass a farm bill. The Farm Bill is one of those pieces of legislation that is generally passed without controversy at fairly regular intervals. It's usually the very definition of routine business in Congress. But today, in a surprise turn, the House voted down the Farm Bill.
The yeas are 195, the nays are 234. The bill is not passed.
62 Republicans joined 172 Democrats in voting to defeat the bill. Most of the Democrats opposed the bill's massive cuts to the food stamps program, now known as SNAP. And many Republicans thought the bill didn't cut that Feed the Hungry program enough. But regardless of why the Farm Bill failed, its failure was a great defeat for John Boehner and a great victory for anybody who cares about making sure the poor have enough to eat. Because, you see, this Farm Bill was, how can I put this, a piece of garbage. We've been talking this week about how this bill would have cut $20 billion over 10 years from the federal food stamp program, which would have affected about 2 million people. But that's just the beginning. That's not all. It wasn't just about taking food away from the hungry. The bill would have also handed over cash in the form of farm subsidies to some of the very same people calling for billions of dollars in food stamp cuts. Now, the actual people, the individuals, the actual members of Congress trying to cut food stamps. And no one better represents the hypocrisy at work here than Republican Congressman Steve Fincher of Tennessee. You see, the good man from the great state of Tennessee decided that poor people on food stamps needed a good Bible lesson. So last month, in the holiest of places, a Holiday Inn in Memphis, Fincher spit out an array of proverbs in an attempt to curtail the food stamp program.
The Bible also says the poor will always be with us. And it also says if you don't work, you don't eat.
And good God, please pardon the expression, does Steve Fincher get all righteous about the government spending other people's money?
We're all here on this committee making decisions about other people's money. We have to remember there's not a big printing press in Washington that just continually prints money over and over and over. This is other people's money that Washington is appropriating and spending.
Ah, yes, other people's money. Get this. Between 1999 and 2012, that man, Congressman Fincher, received payments totaling more than $3 million in taxpayer money in the form of farm subsidies. And he was not alone. 15 members of Congress or their spouses benefited from a total of more than $200,000 in taxpayer-funded farm subsidy payments last year alone. And what makes matters worse, an amendment to stop lawmakers from receiving farm subsidies was voted down yesterday. That's in addition to defeating an amendment that would have stopped crop insurance subsidies for people who make more than $250,000 a year. So to recap, it wasn't enough that Republicans wanted to cut $20 billion from food stamps. But then they went and stomped all over any opportunity to stop this ridiculous cash giveaway to people who don't need it, including themselves. This bill aimed to almost literally take food out of the mouths of hungry people in order to give money to members of Congress with farms. This was essentially Robin Hood in reverse. It's the redistribution of tax dollars from the poor to the rich. So listen up, John Boehner. If you're off somewhere with wet eyes and a lit cigarette mourning your defeat today, buck up. This was a bad bill anyway. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Now, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and pass a farm bill that isn't a colossally regressive piece of crap. We'll be right back with Click 3.